Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are still waiting 2 minutes to start this program, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Rabbi Sahri Sotri wa Yasiri Amri wa Hudata Mirisani Yafahu Qawli. Welcome everybody to our Sunday talk. So inshallah this morning we are going Indonesian time and also Pakistan time. We are going to have a discussion. Our teacher is going to join us. We are still waiting for Professor Asad Zaman to join this room. Inshallah, this morning we are going to discuss about Islamic economic system. So welcome for everybody to this program. For your information, this program is hosted by the Ghazali Project Indonesia. So this webinar, inshallah, we will have a monthly discussion, this kind of webinar, this kind of Sunday talk in the morning, inshallah, once a monthly discussion. So we welcome everybody from Indonesia and also from other countries to join this discussion. Let me check whether the professor is here. Okay. While waiting for Professor Asad Zaman to join us here. So for your information, we are from the Ghazali Project Indonesia. We are currently having several programs. So especially for those who joined the Indonesian can also join other program. We also have a monthly discussion in Bahasa, conducted in Bahasa, inshallah also once a monthly discussion. So yesterday we just have monthly discussion about the work of Imam al-Ghazali. So we start from learn what kind of works that has been produced by Imam al-Ghazali. So inshallah we are also going to have another session in next month. Let me check. So okay. So other than that, for we are managing our website. So especially for all Indonesian friends here who joined this morning session, we translate several work from website Professor Asad Zaman and also other sources related to Imam al-Ghazali's work. So you are welcome to visit our website in www.theghazaliproject.com. So you can also access the translated version of the 9 hours lecture by our teacher, Professor Dr. Asad Zaman. So, and also for those who are joining from other countries, you also welcome to do the similar project. You may contact Professor Asad Zaman through his website also. To learn about the Ghazali project, you also can visit his website. While waiting, we are still waiting Professor to join our room. We will inshallah start once Professor Asad Zaman join us here. Professor have technical issue to log in to join this room, so we are still waiting for him to join this room. So for information, this is our website. You can access the article here, but it is in Bahasa. So everyone who also joined from other countries, you may welcome to also do the similar thing in your country. You can translate the word and the relevant article to your own language, and also you can host a program. So our aims here is we are going to learn from the sequence on how Imam al-Ghazali in the past addressed the Mu'tazilah. So because currently we also face a similar issue, the modern Mu'tazilah, so we are following the approach from Imam al-Ghazali, start from using this three sequence. So we are in the Ghazali Project Indonesia also start to read the kitab reading, start from this Al-Munjim bin Abdullah, and also let me check the Zoom.
So hello, I'm gotten in, I've registered.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Walaikum assalam.
Okay, welcome. So, okay, Alhamdulillah, Professor is here. Okay, how are you, Prof?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine also here. So we are having mostly Indonesian friends here, but also some of those who joined from other countries this program this morning. So thank you, Professor Asad Zaman, for joining us this morning. So previously I have introduced our topic. So this morning we are going to discuss about the Islamic economic system, what we can do to create an Islamic economic system. So Alhamdulillah, our teacher is here, Professor Dr. Asad Zaman. So he got his bachelor from MIT and also master and Ph.D. from Standford University. He is currently the director of Uloom Umran and also Al-Nafi online education platforms. So you are going to use a slide, Prof?
Yes.
Okay, maybe our team can give, okay, you already give the access to share screen. So yes. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the platform to you. Please, Prof, you can share your lecture.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So I will share the screen and start the presentation. All right, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we can start with the dua. Allahumma arina haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittaba'ahu wa arina batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabahu. Means that may Allah Ta'ala show us the truth and give us the tawfiq to follow it, and also show us what is false and give us the tawfiq to avoid it. So all of this, understanding the truth and being able to follow it, is from the grace and mercy and blessing of Allah. So the topic is what we can do to create an Islamic economic system, but this is much more complicated than it appears, because an economic system is not in isolation. You see, the Western education we have studied tells us that economic system is one thing, political system is one thing, society is one thing, but it is not true. Everything is combined. So we need to think about economics, politics, society, environment, all of these at the same time. So what is an Islamic economic system? We have to understand what that is. How can we create it? So the key driver of this whole talk is one basic insight, that an institution of a society reflects the collective purpose of that society. If there is a group of people and we all want to do something, then in order to do that thing, we will have to create some concrete institution which allows us to do that thing. It just the wishing for something in our hearts will not be enough. So that is what institution is. So now there is a hadith that we were all born on nature. Nature means the deen of Islam. But later we were trained away from this nature into being Christians or Majusis. Now this is the original hadith, but the truth that we must understand today is that everybody has been trained away from the deen of nature, Islam. Our training is done by a Western education, and Western education takes us away from Islam. So we do not have the natural deen in our hearts coming into our minds and lives. So, if we want to build an Islamic institution, which involves economic institutions and political institutions and social institutions, then we have to change the society. We have to change the society so that we all want to create an Islamic system. If everybody wants to follow a Western system, then it is impossible to create an Islamic economic system. So today, our collective purpose, what we all want together, is not what the Islam teaches us. Why did that happen? Well, the collective purpose of Western society was shaped by certain historical events we will discuss later. And then the Europeans colonized and conquered almost 90% of the globe. Now, we have to understand that colonization is conquest of minds. So the Western worldview that there is no akhirah, there is no God, and all we have is in this world is the pursuit of pleasure, power, profits. These are the views of the West, and everybody has absorbed these poisons. So the collective purpose of ours is no longer the Islamic purpose. Our collective purpose is now the purpose of the West. And for achieving the purpose of the West, we will use Western institutions. We will not find Islamic institutions to be useful because they don't help us to achieve more money. And if we want to make more money, which is what the West teaches us, then we will say, what is the use of an Islamic economic system? It doesn't help us to make money. So the first problem is that how can we create an Islamic society when our minds have been colonized? We have been taught to think in the ways of the West. And the methodology for colonizing minds is the Western education, which creates many myths in our minds. It teaches us that the West is superior, the East is inferior, and that all of important knowledge about the world has been created by the West in the past 3 centuries, and that they have better societies, they have better governance, they have better politics, they have better economics, they have better everything. So once we think that the West is better, then we will try to follow the Western economic system. We will not try to follow an Islamic economic system. And so there is no possibility of creating an Islamic system in a society where everybody wants to follow the Western economic system. So today, what Islamic means, today the way Islamic economics, Islamic banking, Islamic everything is done is that we will follow the Western goal, but we will try to do it in an Islamic way. So the Western goal is that people should maximize the wealth they have. This is not an Islamic goal. Now the bank is to create more wealth, But now Islamic Bank is to create more wealth, but using halal means. But this is not really Islamic, because the purpose of creating more wealth, which is behind is itself not Islamic. So to begin, where can we begin? We have to begin with our own selves. We have to acquire knowledge of our own self, that my mind has been colonized. So how can I decolonize my mind? How can I free the mind that has been put, a lot of wrong and toxic ideas have been put into my mind by the Western education. So first we must free our minds, then we can search for the truth. So I mentioned that there are three major factors which shape our minds, and these are discussed in detail in another place. But one of them is that global colonization and conquest led us to an inferiority complex. We think we are inferior because they conquered us, and they think they are superior. The second thing which happened is that in the West, something which is called a market economy arose, in which everything is for sale. Human lives, human bodies are also for sale. So we are also for sale. And the value of a life is according to how much money you can make. So every student thinks about which profession I can take, which will make the most money. So the acquiring of education is not for the purpose of improving ourselves as human beings. It is to make money. And this is not the Islamic purpose of education. So basically, the worship of wealth is something we have been taught by the West. And the third purpose and the third factor is that the Europeans rejected Christianity and rejected Akhirah and rejected God. So then they were forced to focus on this dunya. And so the purpose of society is to enjoy life on this planet, and which means that you are going to pursue pleasure, power, profits, because that's all you have in this dunya. There is no concept of akhirah. So all of these three things have infected and influenced the minds of Muslims today. Allah Ta'ala says that وَهَدَيْنَهُمْ نَجْدَيْنِ. That is, Allah Ta'ala has shown us the two highways. So today, we are following the Western highway, which teaches us that we have to pursue pleasure, power, wealth, and the goal of my life is to maximize my worldly pleasure. This is what economics teaches us, that the rational behavior involves maximization of the pleasure we get from consumption. And the education we receive is designed to create human resources. What is a human resource? It's something with which you can buy wealth. So basically, you sell your life and you purchase an income, a salary, a wealth, so that you can get pleasure, power, and profits. And the value of your life is your earnings. So this is entirely different from the lessons of the Quran. The Quran says that every human life is equal to all of the human lives, billions of lives. This means that human life is infinitely precious. It cannot be bought or sold. It cannot be purchased for money. And لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We have been created in the best of shapes. So we have the potential to rise above angels, and also the potential to fall below the beasts. So the goal of life is to learn how to develop these potentials for excellence that Allah Ta'ala has placed inside us. So to begin with, we should start by evaluating who I am. What am I pursuing in my life? What am I using for my life for? So what is my criteria for success? So most students that I have asked this question to, they say, oh, I don't want much. I want a job, family, house, kids, etc. So this is their purpose. If this is the purpose, then they will look for money. They will look for jobs. They will look for the delights of this world. So just to think as an example, for self-understanding, there is a hadith that when a man leaves his house and goes towards the masjid, with every step he takes, he earns one sawab. One of his sins is forgiven, and he rises by 1 degree. So this does not motivate Muslims today. But just imagine, because our hearts are full of the love of money, just imagine how many people would start going to the masjid if we said that for every step you take, you will get $1. You see, that is just to show us that we are much more lovers of this dunya and not lovers of the earning of the akhirah. And this is the infection in our hearts created by the Western education, which teaches us the love of dunya and the love of wealth. But what the Quran tells us is that if your fathers and sons and brothers and wives and tribe and riches and trade and the home that you have, all of these things should be not your favorite things. What are the 3 loves that Allah Ta'ala asks for? He says that Allah and His Messenger and striving in His cause. So we must love Allah Ta'ala, and we must love the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the third thing is very important, because we think that, okay, Allah, Prophet, Deen, we know that, but it is not Deen here. It is striving for the Deen. That is not just following Islam, but struggling to create Islamic institutions. So the title of this talk, how we can build an Islamic economic system. This is something we are supposed to love above all other things. Today, what we love music and movies and anything which gives us delight to our soul. But we don't love making the effort to create the deen, to bring about the deen in this world. And so this is, we think we are supposed to love more than all other things. So remember that there are 3 questions in the grave. Who is your Rabb? Who is your Prophet? And what is your deen? And so this question, we think, oh, it's very easy. I know Rabb is Allah, Rabbun Allah, and we know our Prophet and deen. But this is the problem, that the questions will not be asked from the tongue. They will be asked from the heart. And so what love is in the heart, that will be able to answer. So if we love Allah Ta'ala and the deen of Allah and the Prophet of Allah, then we will be able to answer these questions. Otherwise, we will only start talking about the things that we loved, my house and my job and my car and all other things that we've used to love in this dunya. That's what we will answer. So the thing that is needed to do is to purify the hearts, which is tazkiyah. That is necessary first step to creating an Islamic society and to creating any kind of Islamic system. Now, the thing is, as I've already mentioned, that there is a big difference between Islamic education and Western education. The Quran teaches us to work on the human being, to create the human being, to learn how to become a human being, learn how to develop the infinite potential within us. Western education just teaches us how to make money, turns human beings into machines, turns them into parts for use in a factory. It makes all human beings who go through the education, they are interchangeable parts. They have the same kind of education and they can do the same kind of jobs, standardized parts in order to run a factory. So the first step is we need to educate the hearts. So how can we educate the hearts? This is very different from what Western education does. So Islamic knowledge enters the heart. The Western knowledge is in the mind only. But This creates an illusion of knowledge. People who have Western knowledge think they are very smart, but actually, they don't know the first thing about living. You see, to answer, if suppose somebody says that, oh, I know calculus and I know physics and I know chemistry, we should ask, but do you know the purpose of life? So this is the most important question for us. I have this very precious life. How should I spend this life? This is the question to ask. Can you answer this question by using mathematics, by using physics? Of course not. So the purpose of life, if someone doesn't know that, then he is very stupid, he's very foolish, he's wasting his life. So the first thing we have to do is to appreciate Allah Ta'ala and the knowledge that we have been given of Allah Ta'ala and his characteristics, that he is Rahman and Rahim, and that he has written for himself mercy. And we have to appreciate this deen that we have, which is very deep and sophisticated and full of wisdom. And we have to appreciate our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was the best of mankind, and he created an example for us to follow. So this is the dua that we should make from our hearts. And it is said that if we do this 3 times every day, then Allah Ta'ala will make us happy on the day of judgment and will open our path to Jannah. So the question is that we have been talking about how we can cleanse our hearts, but that's only one person. How can we change the society? How can we, I have said that we need to change the society. And we need to change the society in all dimensions, because in all dimensions, our society has become corrupted. Today, everybody admires and appreciates democracy, which is not the Islamic system, which is Khilafah and Shura. The economic system, people are talking about capitalism, communism, and socialism. But in fact, the Islamic system is different from all of these. So the economic system that is today the dominant one is based on individualism and competition, but Islam is based on cooperation and social responsibility, and it's collective. So can it be that just cleansing our hearts will create a good society? Well, we have to understand that the methodology of cleansing the heart has to be such that it changes society as well. And I'll try to discuss this in more detail later. But basically, you cannot purify your heart by sitting inside a cave and meditating. Cleansing your heart means going into the world and facing the temptations of the world and avoiding them, having good conduct and talking to others and persuading others about the value of Islam and of Deen and of our Allah and of our Prophet. So it's only by conveying these good qualities that we will reform and cleanse our hearts. So the effort to cleanse the hearts automatically involves changing society. So there are 3 steps that we need to think about when we make change. One is to understand where we are, and then to understand where we want to go, and then to understand how to do this. So one is the diagnosis of our sickness. The second is the ideal form where we want to be. And the third is the methodology, how we create change. So the diagnosis we have already discussed involves understanding that our minds have been colonized. So to understand our own minds, we have to understand how the Europeans think. So European thought requires studying European history. How did they start to think that wealth is all important and that human beings are not important and human lives are for sale and purchase. These are very strange thoughts. And the early Europeans did not think that, but some events happened in Europe which led to the rise of this kind of thinking. So we have to understand how this disease got started in Europe, because this disease has infected our minds. So if we understand the roots of the disease, we will be able to overcome this disease. So as I've already discussed, the collective goals of a market society, the Europeans created a market society where everything is for sale. So when everything is for sale, then money is automatically most important. And basically you spent your life in the pursuit of money. And when you spend your life in pursuit of money, you are the slave to finance. Today in the USA, every student has to take loans to study because education is so expensive. And today there's more than $1 trillion worth of debt that the students have. What does this mean? It means that after they get their degree, every job they take, they will send part of that money to the high finance, to the rich people. And that's why the rich people are getting richer and richer, and the poor people are becoming slaves of money. Today, efforts are being made to Islamize societies, to Islamize education. But this is not working. The Islamic banks are not genuine. Islamic universities, one in Malaysia, one in Pakistan, these are not doing the thing that we want. Why? Because the collective purpose remains the same of the society. So basically, instead of making money by using haram methods, interest, we want to make money using halal methods like musharka and mudarba. But the problem is not whether you should use musharka or mudarba. The problem is whether you should be trying to make money. If you have a lot of money, then what you should do is you try to give it to the others, feed the hungry. This is what Allah Ta'ala says, unfiqu, nifaq fi sabilillah. So this is the thing that we want to spend in the path of Allah. So not accumulate wealth. So that's why being Sharia compliant and being trying to earn money in a halal way, this is not genuinely Islamic. So how we can get a genuine Islamic society? As I've already said, the first step is to decolonize the minds. So to decolonize mind, we have to understand how minds are being colonized and how we can change this. So basically, minds are colonized by the Western education that we receive. And so to change this, we need to develop an alternative form of education. When we get a Western education, what do we learn from the Western education? If you go through university, you will see that all your courses, mathematics, chemistry, physics, biology, sociology, anthropology, economics, social science, all of this comes from, all of the textbooks are written by European authors or their copies. So we get the understanding that all knowledge today was created by the West automatically. So all other societies are ignorant and backwards. The only society which is advanced and educated and knowledgeable is the Western civilization. So this is wrong idea, but this is the idea that anyone who takes a Western university education will automatically get. But the key is that Western education doesn't teach us how to be human beings. It doesn't teach us that there is going to be death. There's no mention of death. It doesn't teach us how to prepare for life after death. It doesn't teach us that you will be in Jahannam forever if you don't conduct yourself properly. It doesn't teach us what are the sinful acts and what are the good acts? What are the things which will please Allah Ta'ala? And what are the things which will make Allah Ta'ala unhappy with us? So it doesn't teach us the most important things. So it only pretends to be an education. It is not really an education. So how we can break the hold of this education on our minds? We have to create a counter narrative. There is a narrative that the West has told that they are very civilized, everyone else is barbaric and savage, and they went and conquered the world in order to spread the benefits of their civilization. But this is not true. Actually, the Islamic civilization and Chinese civilization and Africans and Latin, they had civilization. The Westerns were barbarians, and they went and they conquered the world just like barbarians conquer civilizations. So the rise of the West has created savagery, ignorance, and barbarism on massive scale. Today, every day there is a war, countries are being destroyed, nuclear bombs are being dropped on innocent people, and this is all considered normal because the dominant civilization is savage and barbaric. So this is very, very, very different from the Islamic society, which is built on cooperation, on generosity, on taking care of each other. The Ummah is one body, social responsibility. If there is anybody hungry in my nation, I am responsible for it. And all of the creation of Allah is the family of God. So trying to live like a family is very different from trying to live like savages and barbarians. So the institutions which we need to strengthen our society, and these are the institutions which reflect the spirit of society, is the family and the extended family, our relations. Sila Rahmi is emphasized, obedience to parents, affection to children, and then the neighborhood. We are supposed to take care of our neighbors, 40 houses to the right and 40 houses to the left. And then there is the larger community which comes together for Jummah. In the Eidan, the whole nation is supposed to celebrate together. And at Hajj, the whole Ummah gets together. So these are the institutions which were created by Islam for building unity of the Ummah. Of course, it must be said that today, only the form of these institutions remains. The spirit behind them has been lost because it has been replaced by the Western spirit of individualism, hedonism. Just worry about yourselves. Today, the Muslim doesn't know who the neighbor is. We live in an apartment complex, but nobody knows who are everybody. Everybody is taking care only of their own self, and they don't care about others. This is the Western way of life. So how can we strengthen the family and community? This is the basic, the cell, the root of the Islamic society. So Prof, hadith says that Ufshus Salaam, that faith is believe, you will not believe until you love one another. So loving each other is sort of the basic requirement of Islam. And one of the ways is Ufshus Salam, spread salam. Notice very important thing that it is not saying salam. Saying salam is individual. I should say small. Ufshus Salam is spreading salam. Spreading salam means not just saying salam, but also asking other people to spread salam, so that the whole society changes as a result. And what does spreading salam mean? When you say Assalamu alaikum, you should be expressing your care and your concern and your muhabbah for your fellow Muslim. And the hadith says that if you love your fellow Muslim, you should let them know. You shouldn't keep it in your heart. You should let them that, brother, I love you. You have such great qualities and you have such fantastic characteristics. And this is one exercise that I would like to ask all of you to do. Take notice of good things that are being done. Just one simple small act. Somebody gets up from his chair and brings a glass of water. You say, oh, mashallah, you are so kind because you took thought about what you could do to help your fellow brother, and you thought that maybe he wants some water, and you brought him water. So this is a great deed in the eyes of Allah. So if you start to praise others, especially when they do not expect you to do this, and especially when they do something they don't think nobody is paying attention, then they will be surprised and they will be made happy. And basically making other people happy, this is the way to create love in the community. Smiling upon your brother Muslim is a virtue. There is no cost to it. You just have to exercise your mouth muscles, and it spreads happiness very easily. So there are these two models. One is the Western educational model, which is all about dollars. And there's the Islamic model, which is about spiritual progress. And it starts with the lowest stage, which is nafs ammara. By the way, nafs ammara is the nafs which is governed by the desires. And this is exactly the rational man, the Homo economicus of standard economic theory. So how can we grow towards an Islamic society? Well, we focus on our personal conduct, and our personal conduct is within small groups, within our family, within our business, within our friends, and within these groups, we should show excellence in conduct. The Prophet ﷺ was sent as a mercy to the world, and so we should be kind and merciful and compassionate and loving towards our circles of relationships. And this is the first step in growth towards an Islamic society. Now, the problem is this first step is not easy to do today, because our minds are being attacked and our ideas are being corrupted by Hollywood and by social media. Today, when we watch movies, we see that these movies say that killing is good. There are many movies about assassins, people who do kill people for a living, for pleasure. There are movies about mass murders, about torture, about criminal behavior, about prostitution, about pleasure without any pursuit of pleasure, without any social concerns. Also, if you watch the TV shows, they are showing families which are fractured and dysfunctional. People don't like each other. They are lying to each other. They are misbehaving towards each other. And all of this is shown as normal behavior. So all of these poisons are being put into our minds. So it's not easy to create a loving and sympathetic and generous and compassionate good model for an Islamic behavior, because all we are seeing is bad models. The Prophet ﷺ said that the good character is the heaviest thing in the mizan of Jannah, in the mizan of Akhirah. And the Prophet himself is the best example. And he was very kind and merciful and had concern about us. And his heart would be in pain for the pain of others. So this is what we need to do. He was a great character and we need to follow him. And in fact, he was so concerned about the kuffar, the people who did not believe, that Allah Ta'ala had to console him in the Quran that don't kill yourself with sorrow on their account if they are not following the guidance. So what do we need to do? The most important priority is to change the education, because the education is poisoning our minds and hearts. So we have to change the educational system and focus on training the hearts first, because this is part of Islam and it is something that West knows nothing about. So we need to create an educational system which is centered around the training of the heart, and also goes into the worldly ulum, but not in the way that the West teaches. It has to be done differently. When we teach physics, we should look at the creation of Allah, and we should admire how beautifully Allah Ta'ala has engineered the rotation of the planets and beautifully precision engineered the distance of the earth from the sun, the force of gravity, and all of these things. We should admire the Tabarakallah ahsanul khaliqeen. This is how we should study all of the sciences. And the social sciences, they all have to be thrown out because they built on toxic Western models. Western societies are built on competition and greed and individualism and hedonism. All of these are toxic. Islamic societies are built on cooperation and on love and generosity and building a family, building togetherness. So Islam economic system is built on awqaf, which are money which people put to help others. And we will talk about that later. And they are built on the concept of social responsibility, that if I have more than I need, I should be taking care of those people who have less than what they need, not trying to have the best meal in the finest restaurant and maximize my pleasure and not care anything about others. So as I've said, the first priority is in creating an Islamic education. And today we have models that are beginning to come into existence. There is like Zaytunia University and many other places where people are trying to create an Islamic education. But it has to be understood that most of these models are deeply flawed. They are not working properly. It's like the II, International Islamic University, Malaysia and Islamabad. They were created with this idea that we need to have both Western knowledge and Eastern knowledge. So they teach on the one hand Quran and Hadith and Fiqh, and on the other hand they teach Western subjects. But this is like trying to combine fire and water. These two things cannot be combined. We have to change the Western education and transform it. This is called the Islamization of Knowledge project. But it also has some issues that have prevented it from delivering the results that we want. But it is a project of very high priority, very important. We can't accept Western knowledge in its current form. We have to transform it, Islamize it before we can use it. I am now starting to propose that we should use Uloom al-Umran, build on Ibn Khaldun idea and develop our own alternative to Western social science. We have to just throw the whole thing in the garbage. Economics, psychology, sociology, anthropology, all of these are deeply flawed disciplines, and we need to change them and develop them again from fresh for our own selves on the basis of the Quran and the Hadith. So now, in the last few slides, I will talk about how Islamic spirit is different from Western spirit and how this leads to different institutions. So Islam teaches us generosity and capitalism teaches us greed. So generosity comes from the spirit of social responsibility. You spend money on others because others are needy and you have more than what you need. Capitalism is the exact opposite. It says that if you have more money, don't spend it on others, try to make even more money. So that is the spirit of the bank. You can put your money in it and make more and more money and not worry about the fact that many poor people don't have enough to eat today. So Islam says that if you have more money than you can use and your neighbor is hungry, then you should buy food for him. Why should you put it in the bank? So the generosity, the institution, the Islamic bank is the waqf, because it's the bank of the akhirah. You put your money in the waqf to help others, and you earn the reward of the akhirah. Whereas the Western bank, you put the money here and you get the money back here. So it is earnings of this dunya. So in the 1,000 years of Islamic domination of the globe, in an Islamic society, people didn't have to pay for education. Even the concept was not there that I can purchase an education. You would go to people who had knowledge, and the people of knowledge are supposed to give knowledge to others freely. So also health, there was no concept that if somebody is sick, he has to produce money, only then he will be treated. If somebody is sick, then it is the responsibility of the whole family to take care of him. We know that he can take care of himself, so it's our job as a society. And so throughout Islamic history, the hospitals, there were many hospitals, but there was no charge for admission. Similarly, an Islamic firm is very different from a Western firm. Western firm is built around maximizing profits. Even when you have what you call corporate social responsibility, the idea is that the corporate social responsibility will improve our image, and that will make even more profits. So even that is nonsense. Now, the Islamic firm attempts to maximize service to the community. So the goal is to get closer to Allah by providing service. But now here people get into confusion that if you provide service, does it mean that you will not make profits? No, because profits are needed. You will make profits, but the goal is not profits. You will make profits so that you can continue the service. Suppose that I start, I bake bread and sell it. So I am providing a service to the community. Suppose I give the bread for free, then my money will very soon run out, and this service will finish. So if I charge money, it is so that I can earn money to keep my family going, so that I can keep on providing this service. So the profits are also meant as part of the service. We make profits to motivate the workers to do a good job in providing service, and we make it to improve our products so as to get excellent service. There are many hospitals today which have been built in the Islamic world. Indus Hospital is one in Pakistan, which is a private hospital run by charity, by zakat, but nobody is charged any money. There is no place where you have to pay fees to get service. So Muslims are trying to recover from westernization, and they are trying to build on our Islamic tradition. Throughout the Islamic world, it should be possible to walk into a hospital and be treated without any charge. And throughout the Islamic world, it should be possible to go and get education without being charged any money for this. There is the concept of takaful, which is contrast with Western insurance. Western insurance is built to take advantage of people who are in trouble. If somebody has a problem, his house is burnt, his car is in an accident, then in order to prevent that, people have to pay insurance. This insurance is very high. So you have to pay a lot of money to just in case when you have an accident, then they will come and pay you. But this is an adversarial contract. Adversarial means that the two parties are enemies of each other. When somebody takes a lot of insurance, he might burn his house to collect $1 million. So he is trying to take advantage of the other party. Similarly, the insurers, they try to make sure that they pay the smallest amount, and they disqualify many claims. So this is very different from the Islamic takaful contract. Takaful is to take care of each other in times of need. So we pool our money together, and if there is an emergency, then we try to help the person who is facing a problem. In the consumer behavior of an Islamic society, we have We should not do israf, we should not do tabzir, we should not do conspicuous consumption. And if there is a hadith that if you have extra food, you should send it to your neighbor. And if you have eating fruit, send some fruit to the neighbor. And if you cannot do so, if you have not enough to give to the other, then you should bury the peel of the fruit so that they don't know that you have this fruit, so that they don't feel jealous and envious. So this is very different from capitalist society, which is built on massive overproduction. Everything is produced in huge amount, massive overconsumption. People consume a lot more than they need. They don't have simple lifestyle, and they are deluded. There is an illusion created that by consuming a very high standard of life, you can be happy, even though this is not true. High standard of living does not lead to happiness. What leads to happiness is friends and love and compassion and society. And these are the things that today our rich people are living in very fancy houses, but they have no friends and they are not very happy because they are following Western models. So we are close to the end. This is the slide next to last slide. So we are talking about how to create social reforms. In the West, the individual is superior to society. And in fact, one of the prime ministers of England said that there is no society, there's only the individual. But in Islam, we have the opposite concept. There is society. And if I want something, but this is not good for society, then I shouldn't do it. So how to create a society? Well, we have to change ourselves to change our society. We have to invite others to social cooperation, but the invitation must be made in a humble way. We should think of ourselves as the most inferior, and we should invite towards the role model of our Prophet. So one invitation is that, I'm very good, you are very bad, you should become like me. This is from pride, and anyone who has pride will not smell the Jannah. So then there is a puzzle that if my brother is better than myself, then how can I make da'wah to him? So da'wah is based not on me or on you, but it is based on the model of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so we say to our brother that, look, my brother, I have many faults, and I'm trying to improve, and I'm trying to follow the model of our Prophet. And if you can help me, let us do it together. So this is how you make dawah from the position of inferiority. This is the famous servant leader model. The leader of the qawm, the head of the ummah or the nation or the tribe, is their servant. And so the leaders seek to serve the people. So some practical advice is that our goal is very huge. We want to change the whole ummah. We want to change the world. So sometimes you get discouraged that how can I do this? I am a very small person. So there is an answer to that. We take very, very small steps towards very, very large goals. Focus on the next day. When you get up in the morning, you have been given a great gift by Allah Ta'ala, and that is this day. So make that day very useful. Do something. So that means that take the huge job that we have and break it into very, very small pieces and do one very small piece today. So every day, if you make small steps, then a journey of 1,000 miles can be finished with one step at a time. And remember that the competition that Allah Ta'ala has put us are for Tabarakallah biyadihil mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir allazi khalaqal mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. So Allah Ta'ala doesn't want to see good deeds, He wants to see the best of deeds. So we have to compete with each other. We have to try to do the very best deed. So excellence in conduct, not the biggest house, not the biggest car, but the best deed. So how can we do the best deed? That needs to be thought about. So this is the concluding slide. There are many technical details on how the West has deceived us and how they have made us pursue things which are not important and made us forget things which are important. And how we can cleanse our eyes of the blinders that are created by Western education. For this, enormous amounts of efforts are needed in many different dimensions. And I would like to encourage all of you to participate in these efforts. And this is the purpose of the Ghazali group. And so I will end this here, and we can have discussion and questions. All right. So that's the end of this talk.
Okay, MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Professor Dr. Asad Zaman, for very insightful lecture. So I welcome everyone who joined this room to raise your hand if you have any question. We have several questions from the chat box and also from the YouTube, but I will prioritize those who are going to ask live here. Okay. I give opportunity to Brother Andy. Please, you can unmute yourself and also open your camera if it's possible. Yes, please.
Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, sorry, I cannot on cam right now, but
no problem.
I hope my voice are clearly.
Voice is clear.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Zaman. I just want to revisit your slide. I think at the beginning of your slide, you mentioned that the first things we have to do is educate our heart.
Yes, that's key.
Yeah. So this is a big topic. I think this is the big things. So how can we make it more, let's say, more precise or more detailed, Professor? Yeah, just
well. Yeah. I have some lectures on that, but I am not the expert in this topic. There are many people who are in this, many books. We have a 1,000-year-old tradition. But basically, one thing is that if you seek, then Allah Ta'ala will show you the pathways. Allah Ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. So Allah Ta'ala himself will teach you if you just are sincere in struggling and searching.
Yeah.
So when you struggle and search, Allah Ta'ala will send you a teacher, will send you a book, will send you the lectures, will send you whatever you need. So trust in Allah. Tawakkal. فَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلَ اللَّهُ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ.
Okay. So the key word is tawakkal, yeah?
Yeah, tawakkal. Nahin, jahad fi sabilillah. That's very important. Struggle.
Yeah. Okay.
الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Professor, and also
Thank
Andy for the question. There are several questions from the chat box. I will give opportunity first to Brother Arafat. Please, you can unmute yourself. Brother Arafat, are you here? Okay,
thank
please.
Thank you, sir, for nourishing our intellect. And this was definitely a phenomenal presentation. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Thank you. Being a Pakistani, I would like to say, you mentioned in your presentation that science cannot tell us that what is the purpose of life.
Yes.
And even scientists they are acknowledging this fact that moral framework or morality lie outside the scientific realm.
Yes.
But many liberals and seculars here in our country, time and again, throw this question upon us that some people preach Islam and religion, but are still not dishonest. While on the other hand, non-religious people I mean the Western people, are found to be honest, more humanist, and will matter, even though their moral framework is devoid of divine revelation. If the source of morality is religion, then why is the contradiction? So can we say that ethics as a practice can be found in both religious as well as non-religious societies, but as a principle and responsibility, it is a characteristics only of a religious society? I mean, you cannot force a believer to do good deeds because he doesn't believe in objective morality, and therefore you cannot punish him for evil deeds according to his liberal principles that everyone is free. He doesn't do good deeds because it is a command of God, but his own personal satisfaction. That's why good deeds of non-religious person have no moral worth. On the contrary, religious person will be forced to do good deeds, and he will be severely punished for wrong deeds because he has accepted the universal principles of Islam, to which he is bound in all circumstances.
All right, you have asked several different questions, some of which are very complex and require long and elaborate answers. But let me answer very briefly. One of the things that is very important to understand is that the Western civilization is a facade. It's an illusion. There is no civilization in the West. It's a very nice joke by Gandhi that somebody asked him, what do you think of Western civilization? He said, yes, that would be a very good idea if they became civilized. If you look at what is happening, on the one hand, you have a few Tunisians where if you look at how the French tortured the Algerians, you just can't imagine how much, what they did to those people. And while saying that we are on a civilizing mission, they were acting like such barbarians that you cannot imagine. Unfortunately, all of this has been suppressed. Similarly, today, if you look at Abu Ghraib, you look at Guantanamo Bay, you look at the destruction of the whole country of Iraq. It was carpet bombed, millions of innocent people killed. Look at Libya, the whole country was destroyed. Why? For what? So this is what civilization is, and they are proud of this. And on the other hand, if you have a few Algerians, they take guns and they shoot up 10 Frenchmen, then there is a whole global protest about this. And the whole world is saying how the Muslims are barbarians. So this idea that they are very civilized and we are backwards, this is just an illusion. So that's just one idea. The other things about ethics, moralities, actually, basically the thing is that if the ethics and morality involves doing actions to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you don't know Allah ta'ala, you cannot be ethical and you cannot be moral. Okay, I think that's all. Otherwise, it will take very long to get into the depth.
Yes, thank you, Prof. So we have several questions in the chat box and also from the YouTube. I will read for you. So one question is maybe more specific to Islamic economics. So can you help, to be more specific, can you help an Islamic country run without export? So what maybe how to do?
Yes.
This is what conventional economists cannot do. So how to help them? Yes.
First of all, remember that this is the idea that we should all export. This is, and there should be export promotion. This is self-contradictory because export of one country is import of another. So everybody cannot increase their exports. So Islam teaches us not export, import. It teaches us self-sufficiency. Grow your food, grow your things that you need for clothing, live in simple houses and lead simple lifestyles. Try not to need consumer goods, and you don't need to produce goods to give others. Today, the whole Muslim world, we are selling our goods, our efforts, and making exports. And what are we getting in return? We are getting paper. paper which is published by the USA Treasury. So we get these dollars in our bank. So what kind of a stupidity is this? You give them your oil, which is really precious, and you get paper in return. This is stupidity.
Yeah, thank you. So we have to promote self-sufficiency.
Yes,
in each country.
self-sufficiency is very important. But
Yes.
that means we have to lower our standard of living. The West tells us that you should rise, you should increase your standard of living, but we should learn to live very simple lives, the minimum we need to consume, and that will make our countries and economies self-sufficient.
Okay, mashallah. Thank you, Prof. So another question, why generosity lost to greed? What went wrong?
How's that? I didn't get that.
Why generosity lost to greed? So why people change to be greedy? What went wrong?
Oh yeah, that is actually the topic of two different books which are important to read. One of them is called Tawney by Richard H. Tawney, called Religion and the Rise of Capitalism. And it explains how in the West, they used to follow the Bible, and the Bible says that the rich man will go to Jahannam and the poor man is blessed, and many other biblical sayings like that, very similar to the Quran and the Hadith. But then after 2 centuries of progress, they started thinking that no, poverty is very bad and richness is very good. And the Bible says that the love of money is the source of all evil. But then they started to believe that the lack of money is the source of all evil. If someone doesn't have money, then he will be evil. So this is a radical change that took place in the West. And so how did this happen? This is a very complex topic. And I have actually a series of lectures, video lectures on Tawney's book, which you can go through to understand how this change happened. And it is important because this change has infected our minds also.
Thank you, Prof. So in summary, we need this session, if maybe other people interested in other topic, they can follow your YouTube channel, right, Prof? So because
yes,
you discuss about
my
topic.
blog is and YouTube channel are both.
Yes, the blog and YouTube channel to get more elaboration. So another question here. So from Islamic perspective, who should be the first owner of money? Meaning yes.
Now that is a very good question, and that has a very difficult and surprising answer. Basically, the money should be created only by the government. Today, the system is such that the financial sector, the banks are creating most of the money, and they are using it to oppress and exploit people. So the government should create money. This is actually part of what is called modern monetary theory, and I have several lectures on this in my blog also. But this is a complex topic which requires its own separate lecture.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. So we have other question from Brother Rizaldi. You are here, Brother Rizaldi. Do you want to ask directly to Prof. Asad?
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. I would like to ask a question to Professor Asad. Thank you for your very interesting presentation. My question is very short. Do we need to compete or surpass the Western economy? If so, in what sense we need to compete with the Western economy? That's my question, Prof.
Yeah, very good question. Basically, we need to, because the West is basically barbarian and warlike, so we need to compete in terms of defense. We need to be able to build weapons to protect ourselves from their attacks. If we don't, then they will go and destroy any alternative system. But Allah Ta'ala is very Kareem, and He helps if we do what we can. So, but the other dimensions, Today we are competing on having better restaurants and building better cars and basically consumer goods and luxury consumer goods. And this is a very harmful development. This is not where we need to compete. We need to compete in making sure that we can protect ourselves from their attack, and otherwise we should lead simple lifestyles.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So, other question from Sister Faradila. Do you want to ask question directly, Sister Farah? You are here? Yes, please. Waalaikumsalam.
I need to ask you about what an experience can change someone's behavior for doing his or her life, and also economic mindset, and how much bigger environment influence to form someone's character. Thank you, Prof.
I couldn't hear that clearly.
Yeah, maybe I can help to
Yes.
to repeat the question. So maybe what kind of experience that maybe can change someone's behavior, like changing from Western mindset to Islamic mindset. So what kind of experience that needs somebody to be experiences? Yes.
This is like the same question. How can we do tazkiyah? Our heart are full with the love of dunya and money and pleasures of this life. So how can we change our hearts? Well, let me just say that from my own experience, personal experience, when I realized that I am far away from God, so I did one thing which I learned from Imam Ghazali, that take small steps towards Allah. Say that, okay, think about your life, and I think about one thing that you can do that will make Allah Ta'ala very happy. Let me tell you, for example, that I was not making salat at all. So I said, okay, I will start making Fajr salat, not even 5 salats, just one Fajr salat. And so that was my one positive step. And then I looked at the sins that I was doing, and I said, I will drop doing one of the sins. So one of the things that I am doing, which is not good for Deen. So I took one positive step and one negative step. And Allah Ta'ala says in Hadith that if you take one step towards me, I will take 10 steps towards you. So this is how it happened. Then Allah Ta'ala made it easy for me to make more progress later.
MashaAllah, thank you, Prof. So we need to start the step, right? The small step.
Yes,
to
take one small step towards Allah.
Yes,
Allah
inshallah.
Ta'ala will take 10 steps towards you.
MashaAllah, yes, inshallah. So we still have 9 minutes left. Maybe I can give opportunity to Brother Mukhtar to unmute yourself to ask the question to Prof. Asad, please.
Thank you for that. I'm thankful to Dr. Asad Zaman. He is luckily my teacher also. I have been studying game theory in his class in early 2002 or 3. So my question is that today Afghanistan is very important from Islamic point of view. They don't have developed economy. They have basic Islamic knowledge, but they don't have economic system, Islamic economic system at least. So how we can suggest them to develop an Islamic economic system from the beginning? Thank you.
Yes, I have written an article. There is a post in my blog about the monetary system that they can use. And there are many things to do, but there's not much point in making suggestions. They are facing, I mean, if you want to help, then one has to go and do it on the ground. Writing articles doesn't help very much. I mean, Islam is very practical. Many things have to be done on the ground. Everybody can give good advice to you, but following advice is difficult. So it requires more engagement. Yes.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Prof. So this is other question from Sister Sana. So, do you think the Islamic economics has potential to cover all today's need, or we still need to borrow some concept from conventional model?
Conventional economics is all garbage. We can throw it in the dustbin and we can build from scratch. But once you have your foundations right, then there is a lot of empirical data about how economies have functioned and how many institutions, for example, Islam teaches us that we should feed the poor. So all over the world, people tried to develop programs to make the poor self-sufficient. Most of the programs failed. There's only one successful program that was actually developed in East Pakistan, Bangladesh. And this is a program by BRAC, which is a NGO, non-government organization in Bangladesh. And they have, you see, because eliminating poverty is a complex intervention. You can't just give people money and that will make them non-poor. No, you have to give them a skill, you have to give them an asset, and you have to give them social support. These are the three pillars. So what I'm saying is that this is experience based on a lot of world experience, which we can use in fulfilling Islamic commandments. So there is a lot of things we can learn, but economic theory itself has nothing to contribute. But economic facts, history, there are lots of important things available from West and Western literature, not in the mainstream, and we can effectively and usefully borrow them. Yes.
Allah, thank you, Prof. So maybe this is the last question. This is from YouTube also, from Brother Warak, so that he mentioned that West is barbaric because it allows counterfeiting to banking system and denies the same to all others. So maybe we need, this is not a question, but maybe you can give some feedback that we need to more focus on the court-based, highly profitable financial system. Is it possible to replace the banking system with the court-based financial system?
What kind of system to replace it with?
The banking system with the Qardul Hasan system.
Qardul Hasan. Oh, Qardul Hasan is our counterpart to what is called microfinance. This is what microfinance should be. But basically, the banks should be replaced by the waqf. This is what I'm saying, that when you have more money than you need, you should spend it on others, not put it in your account. So basically, there is no, throughout 1,000 years, there were no banks in Islamic society. Because if you have $1 million, you spend it on poor. You create a waqf in order to do charity and earn your akhirah. So money is used to buy akhirah in Islam, not to buy dunya.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Prof. So that the last question of this, there is an additional question. So there is one question that you still want to answer, or we can?
Yeah, we can. I can answer one more question.
Okay. So this is from Brother Faiz Ali. He said, how do we rate our societies of interest, even if our Muslim countries tries to stop? The Western power is so big, so that we need to stop.
The problem is not so much the Western power as the so-called comprador class. When the West conquers or colonizes, then there is a class of brown people who are created, who sell out their own people and align their interests with the West, and then they rule and exploit their own people on behalf of the West. So this comprador class is what is preventing the transition to all over the Islamic world, the people who are in charge are very, very westernized, and their interests are not with the nation, but with the colonizers, with the Western. And so the whole financial system works by giving loans to countries like Pakistan. But what happens to the loan? The loan is not used to build power plants or dams or factories. The loan just goes into the pockets of the politicians and the army and the powerful people, and they enjoy life. And in return, what do? They say that, okay, we're going to have to pay back the loan, so we tax the people and send the money to the West. So instead of having your own colonizing army, you have this system of loan and interest, which is in place by power, and it is very strongly supported by the local elites. And so this is the how do we overcome this power? Well, inshallah, when we do the right things, then Allah Ta'ala will change the power and give us the power needed. But today, our hearts are also captured by the West. So we like this system, we want this system, and we want it to continue. And that's the basic problem, because we are also captured by self-indulgence, by pleasure, by selfishness. We want only that instead of saying that I am willing to be hungry to help my nation, we say that no, I should have a car and let 100 people starve if necessary for this. So then we cannot create an Islamic system in such a situation.
MashaAllah. Yes, very interesting discussion. Jazakallah khair, Professor Asad Zaman, for your lecture and also for your answer to all of the question from our friends here. So inshallah, maybe another next month we are going to have the similar discussion, hopefully. So thank you so much for your lecture, and also all friends who still join us until the end in this Zoom platform, also those who joined in the YouTube channel. So thank you. There is question about the channel from Professor Asad Zaman. I have shared the link in the chat, and also Prof. Asad also have shared the link of his blog, so you can read more. Maybe not all of audience here coming from economics background. So for those who would like to learn more details, you can follow and read the write-up from Professor Asad Zaman about the relevant topic that you are interested in, inshallah. Okay, thank you so much once again. Maybe before we end the session, you can open your camera so that we can have a photo together. Please, for those who are going to open the camera, we still have time here. So thank you so much, Professor, for sharing with us. So I personally very happy to having this opportunity. Okay, there are two screens here. We can take the committee can take the photo, right? The screenshot from this. Okay, thank you once again for those who have joining the Sunday Talk this month. Okay. In the first screen, also the second screen. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Once again, maybe we can end this session with Alhamdulillah and doa kafaratul majlis. Subhanakallah alhamdulillah asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Myself with Listiana and also the committee from the Ghazali Project Indonesia. Thank you so much for your attendance. See you next month, inshallah. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Ibu Dr. Lisa.
Ya, terima kasih, Pak.
Ya, oke. Thank you, Prof. Ya.